It has been years since we've seen a new flagship subwoofer from HSU Research. That's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Hey folks, I'm Gene Delasala with Audioholics. We've got James Larson in the house. We're going to be talking about a new subwoofer. I call it HSU. You call it HSU Research. Whatever you guys want to call it, it's up to you. I'm just excited anytime they come out with a new product that you've kind of broke the scoop on, James. So why don't you give us a little introduction? First of all, do you call it HSU Research or do you call it HSU?
I call it HSU Research. It's named after Dr. Hsu. So like,
yep,
it's just named after. It's his company's name is his name. So that's what his name. You know, that's how you kind of pronounce it.
Yeah, I know. I do like NAD or NAD. It's like Denon or Denon. You know, there's always like different ways to say a name. But I asked him once, and he said either way is fine. So here we are. So before this model came out, there was the VTF-15h MKII, and I think you have that as your reference sub, right?
Yes, yeah, that's the previous flagship sub. So these are the new subs. The new sub is the VTF-TN1. It's replacing that sub.
So it's replacing it. It's got the same kind of 15-inch driver, but the enclosure shape is different. And we're going to do a quick preview on this for you guys. James is getting in the first review sample, so we're going to do a formal written review and then a YouTube video that follows. But we wanted to give you guys a little teaser on this. James, this sub is what? It's like $1,200 now, right? Like they dropped the price but increased the performance, basically.
Yeah, it's the same size, a lot of the same specs as the VTF-15h MKII, but it's an improved subwoofer, and most of the improvements lie in how the enclosure is formed and how the ports are formed. So like same thing but better and less expensive. So like it's just a lot of good news, you know. So yeah, it should be cheaper to ship, and it comes with a standard 5-year warranty as opposed to the 3-year. Was it a 2 or 3-year warranty on the old one? Can't remember which, but
yeah, they definitely increased the warranty, which is a good thing. The footprint is smaller because it's taller than it is deep, which I always thought was the best way to do subwoofers, because most people don't have a lot of floor space, but they have more vertical space to give up. So I think that's a good compromise here. The fact that this is only 18.5 inches deep with a 15-inch driver is pretty awesome.
Yeah, well, the big thing, it's like they took the VTF-15h MKII, a little bit of a alphanumeric salad there, and they just turned it on its side, and they made it like standing up, and they took the ports, and now they're down firing ports. Now these, I haven't seen them yet, but these huge flared ports that are down firing, and that the port reconfiguration gives them an opportunity to see like big performance gains in the deep frequencies. But you know, we'll see when we do the measurements. But you know, like I said, I have a VTF-H MKII to compare it against, so that'll be interesting to see. So
I like subwoofers with down firing ports. I think it couples better. Some of the low frequency, you get more low frequency reinforcement because that port is closer to a surface. And it also acts as a low pass filter, so you don't hear, if there is any chuffing at all, it tends to filter or mask it out a little bit because it's not, the port's not firing directly at the listener, it's firing down towards the floor.
Yeah, I don't understand why more manufacturers don't do that. It's strange. I don't know. I can't understand it, but you know, some do, like all the audio, what was it, the Ultra X13 did, and that was a really good sub. And this one does. HSU's old subs did this, by the way, back in the day, back years ago. Their old subs did this, but not.
Yeah, the new RBH subs, the 1212 has a downfiring port on it too. The SV1212. That's where I first saw a big sub like that. So good stuff, basically.
Here's a frequency response sweep that they have of the VTF-TN1, and it's so it's a variable tuning, so you can adjust the tuning frequency. And here it is at its deepest tuning frequency when you seal a port and put it on what was it, max extension mode.
Yeah.
And it's tuned actually at 15 hertz. So like That's the tuning frequency, and that's a really deep digging sub. A lot of manufacturers actually have been moving their tuning frequencies upward, you know, for more output. But Shu kind of they moved downward. It was easier for them since they could accommodate a larger port since it went down firing. There's no bends in the port, so it's just one big flared or two big flared ports that go, you know, into the sub, and there's no need for curvature or bends in the ports, which is what allows for this kind of performance gain in deep frequencies.
Yeah, we're talking about infrasonics here. You know, it's funny that he still uses LMS. That's old school. I still have my LMS somewhere, but it's funny that he's still using it and showing graphs in it. This is way before REW came out.
Yeah, it's the old school. Here's the max sum output mode. And what's interesting about this is even the max output mode digs pretty deep. I believe it was a 18 hertz tuning frequency, which is still very deep. And like that's deeper. The VTF-H Mark II had it was a 16 hertz and 22 hertz, or was it a 25 hertz tuning frequency? This goes, both modes dig in different infrasonic range. So like you can't go wrong with either one, you know, whatever if you're after extension, either mode is actually great. You know, one is a little bit better than the other, but you know, 15 hertz versus 18 hertz, I'm not sure how many people would even hear that difference.
Now, so here's the measurement comparison. Yeah.
Of the Shu Research's own burst test numbers. Their CEA 2010 numbers for the VTF-15H versus the VTF-TN1, and you get some gain. There are some trade-offs to having like reconfiguring the ports. So if you have the same amp power, largely the same driver, and so there's going to be a trade-off. But overall, it's good news because the enclosure reconfiguration gives the ports more freedom to do whatever they want, and the ports are just improved, and you see the big gains, especially in max output mode. And you can, and going on to the next graphs, you'll see what kind of gains and what kind of trade-offs are made.
Before we do that, there's something unique about the TN1 version that the 15H Mark II was not able to do, is you've actually got CEA data for 12.5 hertz. You've got an actual passing number.
You do, yeah, you do. Actually, I've measured the VTF-15H, and I was able to get a 12.5 hertz passing measurement, but I think I was in a better measuring environment than Shu was able to get.
Oh, okay.
So like, that's a little bit below the tuning frequency, and like that's kind of almost. I mean, you could get it, but it's a little bit irrelevant, you know, because it's below the tuning frequency of the sub. So I wouldn't buy the sub expecting, you know, 12 hertz.
Subsonics, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy low, right? I mean, like you can't even hear that low. Yep. Anyway, here's a comparison of the burst numbers for the VTF-15H Mark II versus the VTF-TN1, and like you get deeper bass, you get better bass. You do give up a little bit at like 40 to 50 hertz, but you're giving up like a decibel, and these might be margins of error for testing.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so like you just get, but what you should get is like a cleaner deep bass, because the ports would be better. And like CEA doesn't really, it doesn't really tell you how clean the output is really. There's distortion thresholds, but it doesn't really do much. It doesn't account for a lot in deep bass. So like some ports will make a lot more noise, right? Unintended noise than others. I expect that the improved ports of the TN1 will give you cleaner bass than the VTF-15H. Although the VTF-H was actually, the port design was one of the better ones that I've come across, and it still had pretty good bass. So to improve upon that would be really, really good. I mean, there's still leagues that have a lot of everyone else. I think actually the biggest improvements come here for the VTF-15H Mark II versus the TN1. You get those performance differences are way beyond like margin of error for CEA 2010 testing. Yeah. So you're getting big gains, like 4 dB gains at 16 hertz and 20 hertz.
That's almost twice as loud at bass frequencies.
That is a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal, especially for such a hard, difficult frequency band for subwoofers to tackle. That's big. You do give up a little bit at 40 to 50 hertz again. There's a trade-off there, but it's so much harder to do 16 to 20 hertz bass than it is 14 to 50, where tons of subs can have big output there. You're still getting big output with the sub there, but the exchange they made to go for a deep bass, I think was was a good one, and a lot of people really liked it, especially people who were chasing after really deep bass.
And let's not forget, this is a $1,200 sub, and it's going to meet our extreme bassaholic room size rating, because the 15H passed that. So I don't know too many subs in this price class that will get you to that extreme bassaholic rating.
Yeah, I mean, well, we'll see. I mean, we have to do our own testing. I haven't measured it yet. I don't have it in-house yet, but we're going to get a sample for reviewing, and then we'll see what it does. I expect it'll do pretty good, since I've had experience with the VTF-15H Mark II, and this is ostensibly an improvement on that. So I'm looking forward to getting this. But I mean, that's for the full review. We don't want to, say too much. It's just a speculation. We're just using numbers provided by Shu. So we'll see when we get the review in, and I get that review completed, sometime in the spring.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to it. As I said before, we're big fans of Shu Research. Been covering them for years. Man, they were around before I even started Audioholics, and I started Audioholics 25 years ago. So it's been a long history. So James, I'm looking forward to you getting this in for review. Guys, if you like this video, please hit the thumb up. Don't forget about our Patreon channel at patreon.com/audioholics. Give us some comments down below. If you currently own a 15H, are you going to just stick with that? Or are you going to actually add one of the TN1 models to your system so you have multiple subs? Look, I normally would not tell people to go sell your old sub and just get this one, because it's not that big of a performance leap forward. But if you're just starting out and you're looking for a subwoofer that is got serious output, serious infrasonic, and it doesn't take up a huge footprint, and it's not overly priced, this looks like one of the top dogs for 2024. So I'm really excited for us to be doing a full report on this in the coming months. All right, James, I appreciate you dropping the knowledge here, and we will be covering this shortly. So stay tuned and keep listening.